Ever since I was a child, I've always felt inefficient. It's often said that the middle child of three is the most capable, but even though I'm the second child, I'm the least capable of us three brothers. And I'm always told that I'm slow. I would wonder how much better it would be if I could act quickly and get along with people like my brothers. However, I wasn't good at interacting with people, and I was just a totally unpopular introvert in high school and college and as a working adult. Although I tried my best in my own way, my boss bawled me out every day, and I didn't get on well with people at the workplace. Still, I kept hoping that if I didn't give up and kept trying, things might change. So all I could do was live my life without causing trouble. But contrary to this hope, my daily life was going from bad to worse. One day I went into the office and there was a notice about changes in the staff. Among the many names was mine. I hadn't requested a transfer, nor had I heard that it was possible. Furthermore, I was to be transferred to a small town in a rural region, hours away by plane, and no personal ties with me. It wasn't a situation I could easily accept, so I went to ask my boss why. What I heard was a shocking fact. In the previous month, there was a big mistake in my department, and somehow I was blamed for it. However, I was not involved in the project that caused the mistake and had nothing to do with it. I didn't have the courage to speak directly to the person who made the mistake or to my boss, and I didn't have any colleagues who believed in me. So I had no choice but to accept the transfer. Of course, I didn't have a strong reason to stay in that place. So I moved to this unfamiliar rural region. At the new workplace, the building was smaller than when I worked in the city, and most of the work was menial. My salary was going down, and there was little room for hope. But then I met someone.
Hey, you're making that gloomy face again. Is life fun with a face like that?
I was working at my desk when I heard a loud voice from behind me. When I turned around, there was the old lady who cleaned the office. She would talk to me every day like this. It's not,
What? I can't hear you. If you don't speak clearly, your feelings won't get across to anyone.
It was the first time in my life I'd ever met someone who interrupted a conversation like that.
Have you lived your life like this all the time?
This cleaning lady, Tina, struck me as quite odd and, to be honest, a little strange. It was rare to meet someone who interacted so directly. I felt a little uncomfortable. But after working there for a while, I noticed something. Tina spoke to everyone in the same direct way. And when I saw how everyone enjoyed their conversations with her and responded with a smile, I quickly realized that everyone liked her. As I thought about these things, I began to feel that my life might have been different if I had had her communication skills.
Tina, I brought you something for my weekend trip. Here you are.
A colleague, Sue, said to Tina, who was cleaning.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Even as she said this, she had opened the box of sweets with astonishing speed and taken a bite. Then suddenly she waved at me.
Hey, you, Paul, come over here.
I was confused, but I followed her words.
Come on, hurry up.
And walked over to her.
This is what Sue bought. It's really good. You should try it. Here.
She said to me, but I didn't know Sue very well, or anybody at the office for that matter. And I didn't know how to react. As Sue had bought the sweets for Tina, I couldn't be sure as to whether it was okay for me to take some. I'm sorry, but when I said that, Tina interrupted me loudly.
What? There's no need to apologize. The best thing is for everyone to share delicious things and be happy together.
She said, seeking Sue's agreement. Sue smiled gently and said,
Of course, feel free to enjoy it.
And really? Thank you. In that case, surprised but delighted, I took a bite of the sweet she offered. It was genuinely delicious. Actually, I can't remember the exact taste. A colleague smiled at me, shared sweets, and made small talk with me. I never imagined such a day would come, so it felt like I was dreaming. This is really delicious. Thank you. My heart was filled with joy. After that, I started talking to Sue from time to time, and learning little by little from Tina's communication skills, I was able to interact with other colleagues as well. Indeed, I had never really thought about my own expression until now. but when she pointed it out, I realized it was true. Everyday scenes were unfolding in front of me, and I was here as myself. But it seemed like I was just walking through life without really seeing anything. That's exactly how it was. But it was definitely meeting Tina that changed my perspective. Tina, thanks to you, I've made friends. I'm a shy, introverted guy, but I was able to get along with my colleagues because you created the opportunity. Thank you so much. Yes, I had thought about expressing my gratitude to her like this one day. And when I finally did, her response was not what I expected.
Oh my, that's not right.
Huh?
I didn't do anything. Everything is the result of your actions. You could change because you wanted to change. If you're going to say thank you, you should say it to yourself, not me.
Tina, in fact, I thought maybe I really wanted to change. But somewhere along the line, I had given up the idea that I was able to change. And Tina was able to point this out to me. Thank you.
Oh, there you go with the words of gratitude again.
Tina laughed heartily as usual. I was really glad that I had come to this place. One day, about a year had passed since I moved to this small town. It was suddenly announced that the CEO would come for an inspection. Everyone's always been working hard, but when the CEO visits, there's still a sense of tension. Everyone was anxious from the morning of that day. I was too, of course. And when the time came, I was surprised when the CEO entered the office. The person standing next to the CEO was my former boss, who had blamed me for the mistake. Judging from the situation, I quickly understood that he had been promoted. Perhaps he deserved to be promoted for his competence, but I definitely felt a sense of disappointment. No resentment. The CEO and others spent some time touring the premises and talking to each other. As for me, I just watched from a distance. Well, I didn't want to get involved, and frankly, I didn't want to remember those days, so that was fine. Thinking so, while I was concentrating on my work at my desk, I felt a presence behind me. When I turned around, it was my former boss.
Hey, Paul, long time no see.
He greeted me casually, as if he had done nothing wrong. Oh, hello, Mr. K. I wondered how he could talk to me with such a nonchalant face. But I didn't have the courage to say anything. Besides, I was now very happy working at this branch, so there was nothing more to say. I just wanted to forget about it. That was my real feeling. But he said,
I hear you've been doing very well here, even though you've been demoted to such a remote place. Admirable.
Although it was a relatively short sentence, each and every word was filled with meanness and sarcasm. I found it so insulting that I couldn't fake a smile. Yet, I couldn't retort to my former boss, and I was falling into self-loathing. I was screaming inside, desperate to find something to fight back with. At that moment, a familiar voice echoed from behind.
What a nasty person you are.
Both my boss and I were surprised and turned around. And there, as expected, stood Tina.
What did you say?
The boss seemed to take offense to her words and responded sulkily. However, Tina, the cleaning lady, wasn't fazed and said in her usual tone,
You can't say anything more pleasant to this young man who's come all the way to this rural region and has been working so hard. I don't know how important you are, but I wonder how you managed to reach your position with that attitude.
I was just astonished. Of course, I was delighted that Tina took my side. The boss had become such a powerful figure in my mind, and the fact that there was someone who would directly say such a thing to this man was a shock to me.
Lady, what are you saying? Do you want to get fired?
The boss said threateningly to Tina.
I wouldn't mind, but do you have that authority?
She answered without yielding to any intimidation. The office was silent due to this sudden exchange, and the CEO, who was a little distance away, sensed the atmosphere and came back. Seeing this, the boss changed his attitude in an instant and began to say,
Mr. President, there's a problem with this branch. Not only are the personnel disrespectful to me, but they lack enthusiasm for their work.
He began to talk even about employees who had nothing to do with him. That's not true. Everyone here is truly dedicated to their work. The words that finally came out of my mouth were so weak. I wish I could have spoken out like Tina. Otherwise, he might fabricate more lies and cause trouble for everyone in this company. As I fought, I noticed that my body was slightly trembling.
Look, Paul can't do his job properly, and he uses others as a shield when it's inconvenient. Looks like he hasn't learned anything from his demotion to this deplorable town.
The boss said, but I never used anyone as a shield. I have been tormented by self-loathing because I couldn't express my feelings well. Even so, I still couldn't argue back effectively. At that time, I heard Tina's strong voice.
Are your eyes clogged?
She stood in front of the president and said,
How can you promote someone like him who ignores the terrible things casually said to such a serious young man and speaks of his demotion? This is what it means to have no discernment. Honestly, it's infuriating to watch. Can't we work as decent human beings?
Stunned by her words, the boss was at a loss for words, and the president was flabbergasted. Her forceful words brought a breath of fresh air and filled my heart. More than anything, the fact that someone had raised their voice so much for me filled me with satisfaction. Then someone came to announce the arrival of the president's limousine, and the president and his entourage left for home in an awkward atmosphere. I'm sorry, I've caused trouble for everyone because of me. When I apologized, my colleagues all smiled at me.
It's that pretentious man who caused trouble. We were all honestly angry, and we're grateful to you and Tina.
Everyone said so. I felt really lucky to be in this workplace with these kind-hearted people. And then, thank you so much, Tina. Even when I said so, she said, as usual.
I just intervened because I couldn't stand it. No need for thanks.
In the end, our branch wasn't shut down, and I wasn't fired. On the contrary, it seems that the unpleasant boss had a hard time after he went back. The president was outraged at his behavior. An internal investigation was conducted. Numerous reports of moral harassment came out, and rumors were circulating that he was subsequently fired. When Tina learned of this, she said,
Of course, heaven is watching. This is what they call karma.
And she laughed heartily, as usual. Since then, I've been living the same life in the same small town. It's completely different from my days in the city, but it seems to be the perfect place for me. I feel that living these days is more fulfilling than anything else. Tina gets angry when I express my gratitude directly to her, so lately, I've been trying to show it through my actions. I buy her small gifts, invite her to lunch from time to time, but I'm always thankful in my heart. The things the lady taught me, the importance of feeling happy even under the most ordinary circumstances, my gratitude for that is always overflowing in my heart.